Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is Ammaar bin Salim. Welcome to another episode of Out Loud with Ammaar. This is season 4. We're recording episode 3, and today it's a very different topic that we're going to be conversing about. It's different than economy, education, on the whole जो हम बातें करते रहे पहले, but आज is a bit different. We're going to be talking about Lahore University of Management Sciences and the MBA program, the very famous MBA program at LUMS. किस किस्म का प्रोग्राम होता है, कितना डिफिकल्ट होता है, हाउ रियलिस्टिक इट इज इट एक्चुअली प्रिपेयरिंग द स्टूडेंट्स फॉर द इंडस्ट्री आउटसाइड within Pakistan and outside Pakistan, both students के क्या ranks and everything. And for this very remarkable topic, I have somebody who is actually pursuing the MBA program at LUMS currently. So I'm very glad to have been joined by Fatima Saboor. Fatima is a current MBA student in her first year and second semester. And thank you very much, Fatima, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So किस तरह से चल रहा है फातिमा? अच्छा प्रोग्राम है, नहीं अच्छा है, कैसा अभी तक किस तरह का एक्सपीरियंस है लम्स का?
So far, I am quite ambivalent about
अच्छा.
कि कैसा है the MBA program. But like you talked about difficulty, so here we experience the difficulty here is very hard to define.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not just about the difficulty component, takes a lot of things into account. It's not just about how that you will have to work long hours.
Yeah.
It challenges you in both healthy and unhealthy ways.
Acha.
And sometimes it can also, sometimes it's really about, whether you want to just make a choice to, maintain the status quo or, do something that really aligns with your values or your personality. So I feel like, some people change for better here, some people change for worse. And yeah, it does boil down to what you have in your mind, what values you have come here with, what goals you have come here with, and where do you see yourself after 2 years, and also about how do you want to cover this journey, because that is very important. Because when it's your because see, professionally, I believe a lot of success has to do with how you are as a person, and what is your work ethic, and what are your values as a professional. So I think a lot of that gets challenged here. And then sometimes you will be in a spot to choose between your grades and your values, and sometimes between status quo and your values and your personality. So it can be very tough, both mentally, emotionally, physically to hai hi, because you only get to sleep 4 to 6 hours.
Yeah.
So yeah.
अच्छा, मैं वैसे इसको इतना मतलब as far as the sleeping part is concerned, मेरे लिए it's not that big of a surprise because I mean हम तो जब लम्स में अपना मार्केट करते थे एमबीए प्रोग्राम को, so it was quite evident कि भाई आप लम्स आ रहे हैं, so you need to be a person of very strong nerves and somebody who is willing to not sleep for more than 4 hours each day for the next 2 years of your life. तो मेरे लिए तो वो थोड़ा सा easy है to digest, मगर let's just rewind a bit and actually understand what made you go for the program and आपकी अपनी background क्या थी before joining this program?
So it's very funny. I actually didn't want to do MBA, and I happened to be here by accident, by a very weird sort of accident by the LUMS management. So I applied for two programs, MSTME, I don't know if you've heard of it,
Yeah, technology
management,
Hmm.
and MBA. So I heard from the admission office saying that they don't offer on-campus residence for MS students, and my parents wouldn't let me live off campus. So my father said, you got into both programs, why don't you pursue MBA instead? And I did. I was, because I initially decided that I'm going to, have a parallel follow through on both my, job and academics. So I had to resign. I joined the MBA program. So 1 week into my summer immersion program, and I found, some MS people living on campus. And then I realized that, oh, it was some sort of miscommunication or misinformation, to be precise. So then I even, after that, I tried to,
Switch.
get a transfer. Yeah, I tried to switch, but it didn't work out because, they had already, covered 6 to 7 sessions of, a 10 session course.
Hmm.
So that didn't work out. And then, later on, we also conducted a study on how and, what went wrong where, and, why there was, because admission office was very clear about that these are the instructions that we were issued by the SDSB. And then, so SDSB perhaps didn't have an idea what instructions they gave to the admission office, or at least that's how I perceived it, because nobody knew. I talked to the instructors; they didn't know what was going on, and
Yeah.
admission office didn't know what was going on. So anyway, so I think that's how I ended up here.
तो उसके बाद यानी कि it was basically a stroke of luck, I can say, कि भाई आपने करना तो MSTME program था, but somehow you landed yourself in the famous MBA program. अच्छा, अगर मैं थोड़ा सा, not many people know, but I think we even got connected through a post of yours on LinkedIn and found it. And I would like to read it out here. It can be, seen as a very harsh one, a very harsh evaluation of the whole MBA program at LUMS.
Why
So
would you say harsh? It
harsh,
doesn't it doesn't seem harsh when you have been on the receiving end of it.
does that mean you're referring to your teachers because they're on the other end of it?
Okay, so I know that yeah, perhaps that too. And I feel like there's a lot that has changed in the world altogether.
Hmm.
And it's no longer about, who's going to work, who can work 10 to 12 hours.
Hmm.
Now it's also about who is more progressive in terms of their, who can work smartly, who's more handy with all the technological tools that we have. And it's not really about just exerting your mind to an extent where it just sort of gets exhausted.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, yeah, I feel like we come across examples on a daily basis where people have succeeded because of working smartly. And I
Hmm.
so this, even I think in the corporate culture, this 9 to 5 no longer makes sense to me, as long as as you can get the work done that's been assigned to you. I mean, why do you
Okay.
have to sit somewhere doing nothing for 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, if you can get your work done in 3 hours?
Right.
So I feel like a lot has, the very fact that the MBA program has stayed this way for the past 25 years or more, it just shows that whether we are not very progressive, or at worst really regressive.
Are you just referring to the MBA program at LUMS, or are you referring to the MBA programs globally?
So I don't know a lot about the MBA programs around the globe, but so my post also discussed formal education, right? So I
Yeah.
feel like there's a lot that I don't find right in the formal education. And with degrees like MBA that have to be very, very practical and very, very hands on, yeah, sometimes I don't get the point of just just spending time,
Hmm.
when it's because it's really about, while the world has moved towards some other, so there are a lot of things that I would like to discuss, from forced curve to insanely long hours,
Okay.
to the kind of scarcity mindset that gets,
Hmm.
that everybody sort of develops, uh, you know 2 weeks or 3 weeks into the MBA program. And it just sort of becomes a rat race. And perhaps that's the case in the corporate world, but it still doesn't make sense to me, because a lot of instructors say this to me, that you don't have any corporate experience. This is
Yeah.
how they do it in Harvard. This is how they do it in Harvard. This is how they do it in so and so. And I still can't wrap my head around it, because when you make a policy, when you make a system, um, there has to be a logic behind every design. And when I ask a question, it's not that I'm challenging the system. It's just that I'm asking for an answer. That, okay, I don't understand why did you come up with this policy, but you can make me understand.
Okay, right. So before we get into your post now, I think from your conversation here, I think this is true to a certain, but to a major extent, I'd say, okay, the way we have structured our jobs, the way we have structured the corporate sector on the whole, कि भाई 9 to 5 आपने काम करना है, and in some situations goes beyond, way beyond 5, and then goes on till 9 to none. तो वो तो of course चल रहा है. The system has been, I can say rigged in a certain to a certain extent. I think that would be true as well. मगर don't you think एक MBA program का मकसद यही है to prepare you as a good decision making manager that fits well into the corporate weed? यही हुआ ना मकसद. You're preparing the person for the real world, and the real world is like this कि भाई corporate sector है, 9 to 5 and 9 to 5 and beyond आपने काम करना है. You have to be a manager of strong nerves. So don't you think the MBA program prepares you
So
for that?
strong nerves have nothing to do with working long hours.
That's right.
Strong, yeah. And I think one thing that people need to understand here is that when you say the MBA program, the way I understood it, and even the way they advertise it on their website, it does not say that it's only for people who want to become corporate slaves. So it's a general management program. I can come to, I can pursue an MBA if I want to, manage my own clinic. I can choose to pursue an MBA if I want to manage my own household. I can pursue an MBA if I want to manage a big company, or or a big firm, or if I want to do a managerial job. So it's a management degree, and I don't get why people keep saying that it's only for people who want to pursue corporate jobs, because it doesn't make sense. You can be an entrepreneur after this. You can do sort of less formal, less glamorous business after this.
तो फिर
So
the next question could be कि भाई अगर अगर यही बात है तो why do you have to come to LUMS? You could go to a university anywhere in Pakistan and learn basic general management principles and try and become better.
no, because if the LUMS had advertised that it's a corporate oriented degree, I would have thought twice before making my decision. But it doesn't advertise like that. It doesn't advertise like that at all.
So what is it really advertised like?
So it does advertise like a broad management degree, and I think that
Yeah.
is why they cover a breadth of topics here, because this is something that I always had a problem with, that there is so much of information overload that you sometimes feel like there is this bucket of water.
Yeah.
आप वो देखते नहीं है कि there is this bucket of water जो बिल्कुल ही वो overflowing होती है, and आप उसे उठाते हो and then you try to pour everything on yourself, और वो आप पे नहीं आता, वो सारा इधर उधर चला जाता है. So I sometimes feel like that. तो but my point is कि इनका जो प्रोग्राम का स्ट्रक्चर है ना, वो भी इस तरीके का नहीं है कि you can say it's only for the corporate sector, because you will see that there's so many subjects जिसमें when you go deep into them you will realize that yes, it is a general management degree, and you get to explore a lot of domains.
Achha, when we talk about a general management degree, and this is from someone at LUMS when I was there, and somebody told it to me, and that's why I'm not gonna, name them. But the MBA degree can be done in 1 year. It doesn't really have to be 2 years long, because it's a general management program, and I totally agree. क्योंकि देखो हम अपना we're generally influenced by the UK education system, UK parliamentary system. You see UK things going on everywhere in Pakistan. So when UK is offering degrees in a year, why do we have to go for an MBA that's 2 year long? Why don't we, ready up our graduates in 1 year, अपने students को graduate कराएं 1 year के बाद, and just send them off to the market and see how they actually pan out.
Yeah, exactly. And also I feel like I think they're doing, because if you go out in the market in Pakistan, yes, um, there's a lot of people do want to hire people who have graduated from LUMS, who have LUMS MBA. But at the same time, I think then this should be made clear in the start that we are actually, the way we are training our MBAs is according to what's prevalent in Pakistan. So I think, that way, because, Pakistan corporate culture might be, I'm not sure because I haven't worked there, but might be like, what they are doing here. But I feel like at the same time, because see, institution like LUMS, premier institution of Pakistan, I feel like, they are in that position to sort of initiate the change.
Yeah, that's
Because
absolutely
it's
correct.
more
Yeah.
about productivity, what sort of output you get.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is going to look at, how many hours did you invest? What did you do at back end or whatever. So, for example, one problem that I still, encounter every day with my peers is that they don't like using AI or,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of tech tools. So they don't see that at the end of the day, what matters is my understanding.
Yeah.
Regardless of what aids am I using,
Hmm.
I can choose not to read from the book. I can choose to, just watch a video. I
Absolutely.
can choose to learn from, AV aids or, from AI or from a friend or from a senior or whoever.
Sure,
The
sure.
bottom line is that my understanding matters.
I think that is what matters.
But see, the kind of वो जो एक preaching है ना, they're preaching, the slogan that they're preaching is that you need to work really, really hard and for very, very long hours. That's why most people don't get that they have to be very, very smart.
नहीं, I think, yeah, absolutely correct. मेरा मेरा ये ख्याल है कि again वही वाली बात जिस पे हम शुरू में डिस्कस कर रहे थे, smartness doesn't really have to do with how hardworking you are. Somebody could be very smart, doesn't necessarily have to be as hardworking a person. तो वो जो smart
Yeah.
working है वो तो yeah, I think it has to be established now. Okay, in this day and age when there's a lot of AI and there are a lot of other tools, and when we have established a person has multiple intelligences, you don't necessarily learn through the case studies. You don't only necessarily have to, go through the books and be a bookworm and then be able to call yourself a smart person to join the corporate sector or in anywhere for that matter. So ये तो I do agree on that. लेकिन जहां तक बात है इसकी
और
corporate sector की, yeah, so I was saying कि corporate sector की जहां तक बात, I have seen कि शायद अगर मैं अपने MBA की भी बात, I did my MBA from Lahore School of Economics. It was a 2.5 year long program, and for some reason it was, I don't know, मगर 70 credits आपको पढ़ने पड़ते थे. और the only one of the most major learnings is the change in attitude, I can say, the ability to manage and handle a lot of pressure, I guess. Because other than that, it's a lot of technical information that you are trying to accumulate and learn, and then decision making, and then be able to take pressure. And I think that's what a manager does. That is what my opinion is on the whole MBA, how practical of a degree MBA is, or what it actually does to a person.
yeah, it's more about personality development. So you're right there. You're completely right there. And I think a lot of people who are so hell-bent on achieving a very good GPA also are somewhat aware of it, that it's not really the GPA that will matter at the end of the day. It is actually, what
Mm-hmm.
learning curve they have been through personality-wise. And yeah,
Yeah.
it does change your personality in a lot of ways. So this much, but see, Amar, what I believe is that whenever you're forced into a hard to live, a challenging environment where you're being physically challenged, you're being emotionally
Yeah.
challenged, you're being mentally challenged, so inevitably your personality will change.
I think that is what
Your
it is
personality
about.
will change. So yeah, you can I अगर ये hardship learning model पे अगर आप बात करना चाहें, so yeah, they have developed it really well, and I think कि वो हो रहा है. I feel like because ये एक आपकी predefined distribution है ना grades की.
Hmm.
You're aware of that, ना?
Yeah.
कि so they have this forced
Like a
bell
bell
curve,
curve.
ठीक है?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if the distribution is not normal, आपको क्यों पड़ी हुई है कि आप उसे forcefully normal कर दें? Because that is going to limit how many people receive high grades and how many people receive low grades. अब
Hmm.
I'll give you an example कि जो हमारा P है, so it's the middle grade.
Mm-hmm.
P का spread इतना बड़ा होता है.
Hmm.
So जिसका 85 है उसका भी P है, जिसका 95 है उसका भी P है.
Hmm.
सो मुझे ये नहीं समझ में आ रहा कि ये इतना बड़ा जो स्प्रेड है और फिर जीपीए में वो वैसे ही ट्रांसलेट हो रहा है. इट्स नॉट लाइक जीपीए में कोई डिफरेंस आ जाएगा. it's being translated the same way that you get, this point, this GPA if you get grade P, regardless of how much you scored.
हाँ, क्योंकि वो उस ब्रैकेट में फॉल कर रहा है.
वो उस ब्रैकेट में फॉल कर रहा है और वो फोर्सफुली उस ब्रैकेट में फॉल कर रहा है ना, क्योंकि आपने वो जो है डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन, यू हैव डिफाइंड इट कि ये इस तरीके से होने वाला है. एंड फॉर सम रीजन जो फोर्स्ड कर्व है, इट डज नॉट मेक सेंस टू मी एट ऑल. एंड इन द एंड हाउ सटल इट माइट बी, वो जो डिस्ट्रक्टिव competitiveness होती है, इट डज, यू विल सी दैट अ लॉट. कुछ लोग बहुत सटली करते हैं, कुछ लोग बहुत ओपनली करते हैं, कुछ लोग बहुत तो उनका थोड़ा इम्प्लिसिट वे होता है करने का, बट वो होती है. सो या इट डज sort of prevent collaboration, जो एक true collaboration होती है ना, कि you are constantly trying to uplift everybody.
नहीं, I think मैं जितना खुद भी जानता हूँ, there's a lot of cutthroat competition that goes on in the background. बल्कि बैकग्राउंड की क्या बात है, बल्कि सबके सामने it's cutthroat. But again, cutthroat is reflective of what's happening in the world. देखो आज पीएनजी एक डिसाइड नहीं करता यार. चलो लेट्स एक एग्जांपल ले लेते हैं यार. जैज का शो है वो लेट हो गया था. टेलीनॉर जो है दे एंटर्ड द क्या कहते हैं उसको, took over like 70-80% of the market. So it is cutthroat in the market, yeah. So shouldn't you be prepared without, shouldn't anyone be prepared for that? And you're just getting a glimpse of it through your MBA and your colleagues. And just a suggestion.
बट आप वो competitiveness पोस्ट कर्व के बगैर भी तो फोस्टर कर सकते हो ना.
Okay.
What if you, अच्छा, I'll give you an example. I'm not very good with ये कि grading system किस तरीके से, I'm not in academia, but अगर आप percentile basis पे, for example, ठीक है, I might not be aware of a lot of cons to that grading system, but अगर आप percentile basis में जिस तरीके से normally आपके GRE, GMAT या GAT वगैरह में होता है, you get to know the percentile, ठीक है, कि you are still compared with other peers कि okay, so if I get 75 percentile, that means कि I scored better than 75% of the people.
Yeah.
ठीक है, तो वो आपको एक ट्रू स्टैंडिंग बताता है. अगर मेरा ग्रेड पी है और मेरी दोस्त का भी ग्रेड पी है और उसका आया है 95 पे और मेरा 85 पे आया है, तो वो ट्रू स्टैंडिंग कौन सी बता रहा है आपको? Does that even make sense?
लेकिन वो तो फिर ग्रेडिंग सिस्टम पे आ गई ना बात. वो तो I agree, आपका ग्रेडिंग सिस्टम ऐसा
a lot
बेल
of
कर्व
what's
वाला.
wrong with this MBA program is the grading system, and I think a lot of people do agree to it, because I remember कि सिम में भी one of the instructors did ask this question and we did not think it through कि हम बोल क्या रहे हैं. वो नया नया आए हुए हैं ना कि everybody is talking about cutthroat और rat race और वो
all
dog
these
eats dog
buzzwords and all.
हाँ, और हमारे भी जहनों में घुसा हुआ है, और मैं भी कह रही हूँ नहीं सर, इतना competitive है in the outside market, ये होना चाहिए. And the instructor, I probably won't name him, but he said to me कि फातिमा, आपको भी नहीं पता कि forced curve क्या होता है. I'm not talking about relative grading, I'm talking about forced curve. और मुझे नहीं पता था, and I'm like ठीक है, okay. But मैंने शायद posts में, if you've seen, I have talked about कि how it has also changed me, because there are people जो
yeah. I think before we discuss that, I think I should read the post out here first, right? Okay. So 1 month into my MBA program at LUMS, known as the best in Pakistan, I've come to a sobering realization. Formal education, be it an MBA or any other, seems increasingly outdated when it comes to genuine learning. I wish someone had warned me before I started this journey. What I have encountered here is not just excessive, paralyzing pressure, but also a distressing atmosphere of unhealthy competition where individuals morph into opportunistic leeches, eagerly watching others stumble as it directly benefits their own grades. Now, despite the purported aim of the relative grading system to prepare you for the real life situations, it greatly falls short in this regard. Instead, it tends to foster excessive and potentially harmful competitiveness. I came here hoping to improve as a team player, become more empathetic, and learn to create win-win situations. But now I'm finding myself oddly satisfied when I see others' grades go down. It's been a month and I'm struggling to see how what I'm learning will actually help me in my job. When you're bombarded with information every day, it's challenging to absorb much of it. Coming from a public university in Bhagalpur, I've realized that I wasn't as underprivileged as I had thought. The situation here at LUMS is quite similar. So if you're thinking about investing a fortune in your education, do it wisely. I've had the chance to work with big names in the international travel industry and beyond, and I can confidently say that the world has moved beyond traditional education. And if you want to discover genuine happiness, success, and contentment in life, it is essential to break free from the rat race of formal education and focus on developing your skills in a more supportive environment that fosters real learning. Now, my question is, through this post, are you implying the MBA program is away from whatever's happening in the practical aspect of our life?
Not really, but I will say कि MBA program is far away from where the world is headed.
Okay.
So I think so in the design ना I think कि इतना भी discredit नहीं करना चाहिए. There are a lot of group projects. So उसमें you do learn to collaborate because आपके grades और आपके group के grades will be this. You get a group grade. So you do learn to collaborate there. So वो एक अच्छा उन्होंने mix बनाया है. But I feel like still in a lot of ways ये लोग technologically they are regressive. Because MBA जितना hands on होना चाहिए ना, for example, there are still instructors who don't allow gadgets in the class, and I don't get why.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Acha. That's strange. Yeah.
They don't allow gadgets in the class. Not even not, but the laptop phones तो चलें ठीक है छोड़ें आप. Laptops भी नहीं और iPads वगैरह भी नहीं. You know, purely जो academic aids होते हैं वो भी नहीं.
Acha. And is there a certain reason for that? या वो instructor to instructor बस सिर्फ vary करता है और
नहीं, मोस्टली इंस्ट्रक्टर्स नहीं अलाउ करते हैं. मोस्टली इंस्ट्रक्टर्स नहीं अलाउ करते probably because अभी तक हमारा एक्सपीरियंस थोड़े ओल्डर इंस्ट्रक्टर्स के साथ हुआ है. दैट माइट बी द रीजन. बट आई फील लाइक उनको भी इतना तो आई डोंट आई जस्ट फील लाइक कि ये वाला थोड़ा सा पार्ट है जो होना चाहिए और ये नहीं है. ऑल्सो थोड़ा सा जो डाउन साइड है ना, आई विल टेल यू कि बाय डिजाइन ना I think it was a well thought out design, but at the same time कुछ ऐसे holes हैं that really need to be bridged. जैसे मैं आपको बताऊं कि because कि class participation की इन्होंने CP जो weightage है वो बहुत बढ़ा दी, तब उससे class के अंदर एक environment ऐसा होता है कि people don't listen. They're always thinking of what they need to say next.
Okay.
Because आपको सुनने पे CP नहीं मिल रही होती, आपको बोलने पे सीपी मिल रही होती है. Some people are smart enough to listen first and then respond. ठीक है, so they might come up with a better argument, but the most common practice is कि you don't listen. You're more focused on what do I have to say next. And I will tell you this, that जो CP classes नहीं होती ना, where CP is not being marked, there is a very healthy environment in the class. Because you see, there is. Because people are not focused about grades.
Okay.
Yeah, because people are not focused about grades. They're focused about learning them. उनको आई थिंक कि उसमें सीपी में तो ये होता है अच्छा मेरी एक मार्क हो गई अब दूसरी होनी चाहिए, अब दूसरी हो गई तो इसकी 3 की हो गई अब मैं चौथी कर लेती हूँ. दैट इज समथिंग वो जो मेरे में भी होता है. सो आई एम नॉट डिनाइंग दैट.
नहीं, आई थिंक वो तो फिर किसी में भी आ जाएगा ना, व्हेन यू नो कि दिस इज हाउ द लैडर टेक्स यू टू द टॉप, तो आप भी करोगे उसको, यू विल अडैप्ट टू इट.
एंड इट्स नॉट अ बैड थिंग एट ऑल. यू आर थिंकिंग अबाउट योरसेल्फ.
ऑफ कोर्स यू हैव टू.
या
अच्छा, फिर दिस ब्रिंग्स मी टू अनदर क्वेश्चन कि देखो सीपी होने का आई थिंक रीजन ये है कि यू आर स्टडीइंग अ लॉट ऑफ केसेस. And I think LUMS in Pakistan was the first university. I don't have the data on that, but I believe so. To have introduced the case-based method of education into the MBA program. क्या कोई रियल वर्ल्ड केस दे दिया, अब आपने उसके बेसिस के ऊपर यू हैव टू आर्ग्यू कि आपने किसका डिसीजन बेहतर था, किसका नहीं था. I think that doesn't really happen when when you're generally reading off slides and you're just learning concepts, or usme there's no real world application to it. So then, is case-based method appropriate for MBA students? Because अगर वो होगा तो फिर CP तो होगी.
हाँ मतलब आई डू अग्री विद दैट, बट सी मेरा ख्याल है कुछ सब्जेक्ट्स में मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि सीपी की वेटेज 40-50% होना डज नॉट मेक सेंस. इट्स वेरी इजी फॉर अ पर्सन लाइक मी टू स्कोर सीपी. सो आई एम सेइंग दैट डिस्पाइट माय बेस्ट इंटरेस्ट, बट आई थिंक दिस इज समथिंग के विच सॉर्ट ऑफ बड़ा एक टॉक्सिक सा इन्वायरमेंट क्लास में हो जाता है. और a lot of people might not agree to this, जबकि मुझे ऐसा लगता है उनको भी पता है कि हो जाता है, और मुझे भी पता है कि हो जाता है, और बाय नेचर आई एम वेरी competitive. तो इफ आई when I was put 3-4 weeks into the program, I did realize that in this kind of an environment I'm only going to get even more competitive.
Yeah.
But I think instructors are doing their best. Some of the instructors are doing their best to sort of um, give everybody a fair chance. But ये हर दफा नहीं होता है कि everybody gets an equal chance. And a lot of times things also boil down to instructor's perspective, their subjectivity. Because see, जब आपने decision लेना होता है ना, तो decision के there is never one answer. There could be hundreds of answers. ठीक है, या चलें 10 तो निकल ही आते हैं डिसीजन कि ऐसे कर लेंगे, ऐसे कर लेंगे. सो इट्स ऑलवेज अबाउट कि इंस्ट्रक्टर को क्या ठीक लग रहा है, जबकि हो सकता है कि रियल वर्ल्ड के अंदर वो मटेरियलाइज ही ना करे.
But can you really come to a decision? Can you ever really come to a decision and say, okay, yeah, this is the right decision? Only time will tell. It's generally hit and miss.
देखो ये जिस तरीके से करते हैं, ये जिस तरीके से करते हैं इंस्ट्रक्टर्स भी इसी तरीके से करते हैं कि जो केसेस पुराने हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल, एंड जिसका डिसीजन मैनेजमेंट ने, उस कंपनी के मैनेजमेंट ने ले लिया था, सो दे देन दे शो अस कि व्हाट डिसीजन डिड दे मेक and whether it worked in their favor or not.
Right.
But usme bhi there could have been other ways in which the decision would still have worked or would still not have worked. So I think कि उनका मॉडल भी ये नहीं है. This is something that we get to hear from instructors a lot, and they are right कि it's never really about coming to the right decision. It's always about developing a thinking process. So वो जो
Right,
thinking
yeah.
process है वो develop हो रहा होता है.
Yeah,
और मैं आपको एक चीज बताऊं कि पीपल, आई थिंक जिनका एक फोरसाइट है ना, who know कि what will matter in the long run and what will not matter in the long run, वो शायद अपनी जर्नी को उसी तरीके से मोल्ड कर रहे हैं. We still have people in the class who do not mark CP, who just listen, who read the cases and who just listen, and they perform well in the final exam. So एक चीज our program director always says is that this is going to happen, because we have come, we are all adults.
Yeah.
हम वो undergrads तो नहीं है, so we have all come here to learn. So it's really up to us whether we want to bypass the process or we want to invest fully in it, learn something, and then think about long term. So yeah, they cannot do anything about it, regardless of what policies they implement or enforce. जिन्होंने bypass करना है और जिन्होंने hacks ढूंढने हैं, they will still find a way to do it.
अच्छा
So
नहीं
it's
वैसे.
not like एक जो चीज, it's not like I disagree with everything that this program has to offer.
Yeah, of course.
I do agree with a lot of things, but I do question a lot of things. I don't challenge them. I just don't understand them. And I never get spot on answers. Because जो most common answer होता है वो ये होता है, हार्वर्ड में भी ऐसे होता है. तो मैं अक्सर ये सोचती हूँ कि मैं हार्वर्ड जाके भी उनसे पूछूंगी अगर कभी मौका मिला कि यहाँ पे भी ऐसा क्यों होता है.
नहीं तो इसका मतलब तो ये हो गया ना, यू आर देन एक्सेप्टिंग कि यू आर नॉट एज ग्रेट एज हार्वर्ड. ठीक है ना. अगर अगर आप हर एमबीए प्रोग्राम, यानी इसमें पाकिस्तान में कहना शुरू कर दे यार लम्स मिस रहा होता है, लम्स वाले कहने लगे हार्वर्ड मिस रहा होता है, तो इसका मतलब ये होगा कि you actually and मतलब reading through between the lines you're saying कि यार हमसे बेहतर कोई है और हम उसको बस फॉलो कर ही जा रहे हैं ऐसे, और कल को पता चला कि नहीं यार उनका मेथड जो था वो गलत था, तो इसका मतलब है कि then goes the effect down the drain सबके लिए.
Yeah.
So I do see your point, कि भाई where does your own thinking come in here? Because then I ask the same question to myself every day कि यार if Harvard is the best, then that means that the Harvard students get to do everything the best possible way, and there's no questioning that. But that's actually a wrong thought, I'd say. Right. Okay. So मुझे अच्छा last two questions and then I'll let you go and prepare for tomorrow's class. But yeah, Monday is hitting us. Monday blues already on Sunday evenings. But yeah. So as far as your colleagues are concerned, you know, whoever are in the same MBA program as you are in, how do you see them? What generally makes LUM students, or is, if that's even true, LUM students different from, you know, most other MBA students in Pakistan?
मुझे मैं दोनों से नहीं मिली हुई हूँ, मैं बाकी लोगों से नहीं मिली हूँ, so I can't say, but I will tell you this कि मेरे MBA में जो मैंने एक चीज देखी है, MBAs are generally different than undergrads of LUMS ना. So undergrads जितना मेरा interaction हुआ, I found them more open-minded and more audacious. MBA वाले थोड़ा सा जो असर है, because a lot of people, there are not many people जो completely inexperienced हैं.
Yeah, I think
MBA
इसकी
के अंदर
2-3 year में भी कुछ आते हैं एक्सपीरियंस लेके.
हाँ, तो MBA का ये सिलसिला है कि a lot of them have worked in the corporate sector. तो they always, जो मुझे एक लगा, and I'm not saying it's the wrong thing, but they always seem to be walking on eggshells.
Okay, अच्छा.
You know, they are very careful about what they want to say, who they want to say it to, and they always criticize me for being so blunt, for always, you know, coming like this.
सीधा सीधा
And
जाके
I,
बोल दिया.
हाँ,
नहीं
and I
लेकिन ये
feel
बात
like
सही
कि
भी है. You have to be diplomatic because you know having worked in the corporate sector, I do see कि जो लोग बिल्कुल सीधा face पे बोल देते हैं ना, they sometimes have to face the brunt as well.
so I am. You think I am not? I am facing that. मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि मेरे बोलने से, किसी के भी बोलने से सबसे ज्यादा तो प्रॉब्लम उसी को खुद को होता है. And if they still
Yeah.
choose to say, you know, certain things, it's
Hmm.
because um, what will happen next does not matter to them as much as saying, you know, the right thing matters to them. And मुझे सबसे ज्यादा criticism ये मिलता है कि you are very idealistic. But a lot of people don't understand कि अभी जैसे इनका पहला बैच आया है जो ज्यादा जिसमें जेनजीज हैं. At least that's what we've heard.
Right.
तो 3 साल बाद तो कई फातिमा सबूर आ जाएंगी ना. 3 साल बाद तो बहुत आइडियलिस्टिक लोग आएंगे, because this is how our generation has been brought up.
Yeah.
You know, they are idealistic and they are never about के वो बेंचमार्क हार्वर्ड को नहीं रखते हैं या बेंचमार्क स्टैनफोर्ड को नहीं रखते हैं. उनके लिए बेंचमार्क होता है व्हाट सीम्स राइट,
Yeah.
और वही बेंचमार्क है. यू कांट से कि अच्छा सर जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज लम्स के बाद भी अब अच्छी नहीं है, तो सर बोल देंगे बाकियों से तो अच्छी हैं. या आप ये बताएं ना कि यू नो द काइंड ऑफ एनर्जी एंड द काइंड ऑफ टाइम दैट वी
And the
आर
kind of
इन्वेस्टिंग
money
हियर.
investment that you mentioned in your post.
या एग्जैक्टली, द काइंड ऑफ सी देखिए, मैं क्योंकि ग्रास रूट से बिलोंग करती हूँ तो मुझे पता है कि लोग इस ग्लैमर के पीछे, लम्स के ग्लैमर के पीछे, आगा खान के ग्लैमर के पीछे लोग जमीनें भी बेच देते हैं, नॉट नोइंग कि देयर आर चीपर अल्टरनेटिव्स टू अचीव द सेम और इवन बेटर सक्सेस. सो वो जो एक आपको ऐसा लगता है ना कि यू नो दिस इज द बेस्ट पाथ एंड जो नेक्स्ट ऑप्शन है it's you know just the next in the line, that's not really the case. We live in the digital era, and one thing जो underprivileged होने के बारे में मैंने की ना बात कि it's really not about knowledge, अमार, क्योंकि आप IBM है, गूगल है, आप किसी की भी सर्टिफिकेशन ले लो, वो आपको घर पे बैठे बैठे they will give you this, you know, very massive pool of knowledge. एंड अब तो आप कहीं पे भी बैठ के, सो नॉलेज इज नेवर द प्रॉब्लम इन द डिजिटल एरा, इंफॉर्मेशन इज नॉट द प्रॉब्लम. ये जो हम बात करते हैं, तो ये इट्स नॉट अबाउट एक्सपोजिंग अस टू इंफॉर्मेशन. इट्स लाइक आपने कहा कि इट्स मोर अबाउट पर्सनालिटी ना. So it is really about personality. So when people invest so much, uh, if you want to come to LUMS for experience, it's the best place to get a lot of varied experiences in Pakistan. उसके लिए जरूर इन्वेस्ट करें. पर अगर आप मॉनेटरी रिटर्न ऑन इन्वेस्टमेंट को सोच के आ रहे हैं कि आपको कोई बहुत बड़ा मिलने वाला है यहाँ से जो आपको कहीं और से नहीं मिलेगा, यू आर एब्सोल्युटली रॉन्ग.
Well, that is a very different thought because I think this is one of the things that people say, especially the ones who worked or who graduated from LUMS, you know, the ROI on your investment in education, at least the monetary return, they're quite promising, and they're more than, what you can expect from after having graduated from other universities. So that's what uh,
I seriously don't get why do they say that. शायद जॉब मार्केट के लिहाज से वो ठीक बातें करते होंगे कि जॉब मार्केट नहीं मिलती है
apologies.
आपको. बट इन अदर वेज, अब जैसे मैं जब मैंने काम करना शुरू किया, so I was working in my undergrad also.
Yeah,
I was doing copywriting.
right.
And I was, employed at this Wyoming-based digital marketing agency. तो वहां पे द फर्स्ट एंड आई थिंक कि जो मैं रियलाइज करती थी इन वर्चुअल वर्क, वो ये रियलाइज करती थी कि वेरी फ्यू पीपल केयर अबाउट योर सर्टिफिकेशंस एंड योर डिग्रीज, एंड दे केयर मोर अबाउट योर portfolio. So the past work that you've
Right.
done,
Yeah.
that's what they cared most about. But it's also about कि this kind of work is less glamorous. You get to work at home. Nobody knows what you're doing. You don't have, आप बेन का नाम नहीं है साथ, मैकेंजी का नाम नहीं है, और पाकिस्तान में बात करें तो बड़े बड़े एमएनसीज का नाम नहीं है आपके साथ. एंड नॉट अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल आर विलिंग टू डू दैट, बिकॉज पाकिस्तान में we have ये वाला एक जैसे a lot of people, when we go to these talks जो हमारे लिए ऑर्गेनाइज कराई जाती हैं, उसमें भी a lot of people come and tell this to us कि MBAs में, लम्स से जब MBAs निकलते हैं, they always want glamorous jobs.
I mean, this is what
on the
MBAs
other side,
want across the globe, by the way. It's not just LUMS.
हाँ, so yeah, ऐसा होगा, बट आई फील लाइक कि अब शायद जेनजीज की ना, जो मैंने अपनी जनरेशन में एक चीज देखी ना, आई थिंक दिस इज समथिंग दैट एवरीबडी इज सेइंग. अब तो क्लास के अंदर मेरा नाम भी लोगों ने जेनजी रख दिया है, और इंस्ट्रक्टर्स ने, और मुझे सारे वो जो जेनजीज के बारे में जो भी आर्टिकल्स होते हैं, तो वो क्लास वाले मुझे ऐसे फॉरवर्ड कर रहे होते हैं. सो आई रिसेंटली रेड एन आर्टिकल ऑन वॉशिंगटन पोस्ट कि
Yeah.
जेनजीज हैव स्टार्टेड वर्किंग 15 साल की उम्र से. सो अब बहुत कम लोग हैं, जेनजीज का जो एवरेज एज है, जो मिनिमम एज है वर्किंग की, वो बहुत कम हो गई है. ठीक है, तो आई थिंक कि वी आर मूविंग टूवर्ड्स कि फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी चाहिए इन टर्म्स ऑफ आवर टाइम,
Yeah,
और
absolutely.
पैसा चाहिए.
Absolutely.
और वो जो टाइटल है ना, वो शायद, मुझे नहीं पता, मैंने जो देखा है वो मैं कह रही हूँ, वो टाइटल आप अपने पास रख लें. सब कुछ लोगों को चाहिए होगा टाइटल, पर मुझे नहीं चाहिए.
I think you say
और
about
बहुत से और
because
लोग.
I came across this talk a while ago, and it was actually a conversation between two people. I think that would happen somewhere in India, and somebody asked this question to a motivational speaker or someone कि भाई हमारे पास जो लोग हैं, they don't stay with us for a long while. And it's quite different as compared to how it used to be back in their day, their parents' day. तो of course आजकल के बंदों के वो challenges ही नहीं जो उस वक्त लोगों के challenges थे. Of course आजकल का background फर्क हो गया. And I totally get your point when you say that you'd rather prefer an organization that gives you freedom with money, of course, and an organization that gives you, big titles but doesn't give you as much freedom. I agree, and trends
मॉनेटरी भी
are
और
changing.
टाइम वाइज भी.
Yeah,
मॉनेटरी भी,
freedom,
टाइम वाइज
exactly,
भी.
both.
मैं जैसे पहला वर्ल्ड मार्केटिंग समिट जब पाकिस्तान में हुआ, तो मुझे भी याद है, मैं तब 19 साल की थी, और मैं गई एंड आई हर्ड, BNU के शायद डायरेक्टर थे, स्टूडेंट अफेयर्स के डायरेक्टर थे, इनकी मेंशन दिस कि जो लड़के हैं हमारी जनरेशन के उनका, दे हैव वेरी लेस सेंस ऑफ अचीवमेंट. और
Okay.
आई रिमेम्बर कि वो मुझे बुरी लगी बात ना, कि एकदम से कि ये ऐसे क्यों कह रहे हैं, बट देन आई रियलाइज्ड कि क्योंकि वो जो सेंस ऑफ अचीवमेंट है ना, वो बड़ा इवनली स्प्रेड हो रहा है बिटवीन मेन, गाइज एंड गर्ल्स, बिटवीन मेन एंड वुमेन, बिकॉज एक टाइम था व्हेन men were more, yeah, guys were more focused on the in the professional world, and women were perhaps more focused in
Domestic
उनकी
life.
जो भी domestic obligations होती थी.
Yeah.
But now, because they are shouldering equal responsibilities, तो उसकी वजह से we criticize uh, जो हमारे Gen Z guys हैं, या the men that we see today, they have less sense of achievements. Perhaps they just now want flexibility with their time. अब अगर 12 घंटे काम को दे दिए हैं, 12 घंटे उन्होंने नहीं देने काम को, या
हाँ.
अगर 8 घंटे दे दिए काम को, तो अब वो नहीं देना चाहते काम को.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, what are you working for? You're working because at the end of the day you want something for yourself. And if you don't get time for yourself, तो फिर क्या फायदा है? और एक जो
बहुत
एग्जांपल
ज्यादा
आपने
जो है ना
4-5 घंटे,
चैलेंजेस आपने ले आए हैं कि पॉडकास्ट में.
maybe a lot of people agree to this. काफी सारे instructors हैं, it's not like everybody agrees on every policy. And I sometimes, मैं तो बहुत जल्दी जज्बाती हो जाती हूँ क्लास में, and they always let me get जज्बाती in the class. Nobody stops me. मतलब instructors में तो they always listen to what I have to say. तो ये वाली जो चीज है कि मैंने एक दफा ये भी कहा, because we had this CAP session, और उसमें जो उनकी हेड साइकोलॉजिस्ट थी, she told us कि ये जो आप बता रहे हैं 4 घंटे हम सोते हैं, this is not clinically optimal, and you might not experience this कि ये आपको 20 साल तक नहीं फर्क पता चलेगा, बट इन द लॉन्ग रन योर कॉग्निटिव एबिलिटीज विल बी अफेक्टेड. तो आई रिमेम्बर कि जब ये बात दोबारा हो रही इंस्ट्रक्टर्स वगैरह से, तो आई सेड कि अगर आपने फॉर एग्जांपल कम्युनिकेशन में काम किया, या आपने ऑपरेशंस में काम किया, एंड यू हैव 30 years of experience, so these scientists who have come up with these conclusions, yeah, this psychologists, they also have tons of experience under their belt, and what they are saying
Absolutely.
is not coming out of thin air. So
Hmm.
I feel like कि अब जो generation आ रही है, they want like a balance of everything.
So Lespe, I think we're going to need another podcast on that. But before we end this one, this is last question. So how would you compare LUM students? Would you call them book smart, or would you call them street smart? Because बहुत
दोनों,
ज्यादा एक connotation जो
हम
है ना
दोनों
वो
हैं.
attach नहीं, वो आप दोनों है ना भाई. हमें तो ये पता चलता है कि LUMS वाले जो है वो किताबी कीड़े हैं, बाकी वाले जो है वो street smart हैं. Is that true,
नहीं,
या
देखिए
it's
ये
just
तो,
a myth?
देखिए ये अक्रॉस स्कूल्स वेरी करता है. और मेरा ख्याल है टाइम्स, डिफरेंट टाइम पे आपको डिफरेंट
Hmm.
आपकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज होती हैं लम्स में. मेरा जैसे भाई है, वो एसएससी में होता है, तो उसका रूटीन पढ़ाई वाली रहती है ज्यादा. वो लाइब्रेरी ही बैठा हुआ है, पढ़ रहा है, पढ़ रहा है, पढ़ रहा है, पढ़ रहा है. हमारी रूटीन डिफरेंट भी हो जाती है कि ठीक है हम एक दिन पढ़े, बट अगले दिन हमें पता है कि हमने प्रोजेक्ट करना है, तो हम लोगों ने बाहर जाके किसी कार्ट वाले को, किसी दुकान वाले को इंटरव्यू करना है. सो एक दिन हमने मार्केट जाना है, एक दिन डीआर में बैठ के पढ़ना है, ठीक है, किसी दिन कंप्यूटर पे कुछ करना है. सो उस लिहाज से आई थिंक इट वेरीज अक्रॉस प्रोग्राम्स एंड अक्रॉस स्कूल्स, क्योंकि हर स्कूल की रिक्वायरमेंट एक नहीं है. जैसे बहुत से स्कूल्स में सीपी नहीं है, तो उनकी क्लास
Hmm.
में बच्चे ही नहीं आते हैं.
Hmm. नहीं, आई थिंक दिस
मतलब
इज
यहाँ पे,
इम्पोर्टेंट टू अंडरस्टैंड कि लम्स इज नॉट जस्ट अ बिजनेस स्कूल. वो तब अब वो गई बात जब वो मेरे डैड के दौर से लेट्स से थी कि भाई बिजनेस स्कूल है. वो आज तक लोग सोचते हैं जस्ट अ मैनेजमेंट स्कूल. भाई देयर आर लाइक 5 schools within. तो वो हर स्कूल की
या
रिक्वायरमेंट एज यू वेरी राइटली मेंशन वो वेरी करती है. डजंट मीन कि एसएससी के स्टूडेंट होगा, साइंस वाला स्टूडेंट होगा या ह्यूमैनिटीज का होगा, दे डोंट नेसेसरली हैव टू बी एज फोकस ऑन सीपी और या प्रोजेक्ट्स जिस तरह आप लोगों के.
हाँ, वो ये इस तरीके से ना. और आई थिंक प्रोग्राम्स का भी है, शायद अंडर ग्रेड में इतनी हैंड्स ऑन लर्निंग नहीं होती, पर ये एमबीए में तो बहुत होती है. तो एमबीए में तो अगर आई विल गेट रियली मैड एट दैट पर्सन जिसने कह दिया कि कोई हम एक हैं, बिकॉज वी आर बोथ. हमें उतना ही पढ़ना पड़ता है जितना हमें हैंड्स ऑन चीजें करनी पड़ती हैं.
नहीं,
सो
असल
आई
में ये
थिंक इट्स
होता
नॉट
था. आई
फेयर टू से.
रिमेम्बर बिकॉज दिस इज व्हाट पीपल यूज्ड टू टेल मी कि यार लम्स जो है ना इट्स जस्ट जनरली बुक स्मार्ट. वो बड़ी जल्दी अच्छी एक्सेल शीट्स वगैरह बहुत अच्छा बताएंगे, एनालिसिस जल्दी से कर देंगे. बट इफ यू रियली वुड वांट टू have those students go to the market, they won't come through like any other a
ये हो
person
सकता
from
है,
another institute.
ये हमने भी कुछ इंस्ट्रक्टर से भी कभी कभी हमें ये वाले ताने मिलते हैं कि पता नहीं, शायद एलएससी वाले स्ट्रीट स्मार्ट हमसे ज्यादा होते हैं, या कुछ इस तरीके से. सो वो चीज
हाँ,
हो
ये
सकती
कहते
है.
थे. वैसे
आई
वैसे यू आर राइट. हम जब हम एनएससी में थे ना तो हमें कहते थे यू गाइस आर नॉट बुक स्मार्ट बट यू गाइस आर स्ट्रीट स्मार्ट. Okay, then LUMS are book smart, but they're not street smart.
हाँ वैसे ये शायद अब नाउ दैट यू हैव कंपेयर्ड अस विद एलएससी शायद हो, क्योंकि यहाँ पे ना पता ज्यादा लोगों के गोल्स भी, मैं जिन लोगों से मेरा इंटरेक्शन रहा है उनमें ज्यादा लोगों के गोल्स भी वो बुक स्मार्ट वाले हैं कि कंसल्टेंसी में जाना है, एनालिसिस करके चीजें देनी है। वो वाले हैं नहीं कि मतलब वो जो एक हम कह रहे
हाँ
थे ना कि लेस ग्लैमरस साइड के ऊपर जाना है मार्केट में और ये वाला काम करना है और वो वाला काम करना है। सो या वो चीज अगर रिलेटिवली आप कहें तो या दिस माइट बी ट्रू कि हाँ एक्सेल के ऊपर वी आर वेरी, मैं तो नहीं हूँ बट एक्सेल पे यार वी आर वेरी गुड, बट मार्केट में शायद इतने ना हो। सो या यू माइट बी राइट देयर।
लेकिन मैं वैसे सोचता हूँ कि इट्स नॉट जस्ट लम्स एंड एलएससी, they are of course they're great institutions both of them, but there are other institutions as well. We have CBA, FAST भी है, there's UMT as well, UCP भी है. I'm not saying कि हर जगह पे of course ये वाला standard होगा, but yeah, at the end of the day देखो books तो वही है ना, concepts are pretty much the same, it's just the way you teach those concepts, it's just the you know the grind that's different, the experiences that are different.
या और फिर अभी आप अब अगर एमबीए की क्लास में बैठे यू विल नॉट सी अ लॉट ऑफ डिफरेंस, जबकि सारे
हम्म.
बड़े मुख्तलिफ बैकग्राउंड से हैं, बट हर किसी को आप एक तरीके से एटलीस्ट ऑप्टिक्स अगर आप देखें तो आप
Yeah.
एक ही फुटिंग पे देख रहे होंगे सबको। तो उस लिहाज से तो आई थिंक वी या यू आर राइट इन अ वे कि वी आर लिविंग इन अ डिफरेंट एरा। और अब शायद, अब जाके शायद, पता नहीं मैं इस स्टेटमेंट के बाद ये लोग मेरा क्या हाल करेंगे,
नहीं, कुछ नहीं करेंगे, वैसे
बट
तो मैं लाल को जानता हूँ, वो वैसे किसी के ओपिनियन
नहीं
पे कुछ
नहीं
कहते नहीं.
मुझे पता है मैनेजमेंट तो कुछ नहीं करेगी, लेकिन स्टूडेंट्स कर सकते हैं, मेरे
क्लास में
फ्रेंड्स
तो
कर
चलना
सकते हैं
छोड़े.
कि हाँ कि शायद एलएससी और लम्स के बच्चों में नहीं होगा अब इतना फर्क, यूसीपी और लम्स के स्टूडेंट्स में नहीं होगा अब इतना फर्क। स्ट्रीट स्मार्टनेस में तो बुक स्मार्टनेस में हो, क्योंकि ठीक है हम वी आर, हमें इतनी इतनी चीजें दे दी जाती हैं पढ़ने के लिए, बट
हम्म.
या यू आर राइट स्ट्रीट स्मार्टनेस में इतना फर्क नहीं होगा,
आई थिंक जो
शायद हो
इमोशनल
ही ना।
इंटेलिजेंस वाला पार्ट है ना, वो हम बहुत फॉर द लॉन्गेस्ट टाइम एटलीस्ट आई आई थिंक आई कैन से कि यार हमारे जो हमारे से जो पहले वाली जनरेशन है, जो मेरे बाबा की है, इस तरह आपके बाबा वगैरह की जनरेशन, उस पर बहुत ज्यादा फोकस था कि यार यू हैव टू बी बुक स्मार्ट और टू बी वेरी एकेडमिकली इंटेलिजेंट, ब्रिलियंट. लेकिन जो इमोशनल इंटेलिजेंस वाला एक एलिमेंट था ना, आई थिंक दैट वाजंट एज प्रेवलेंट एज इट इज नाउ. I mean, how can you convince someone just on the basis of throwing them facts and stats और वो सारा कुछ आपने दे दिया, but you actually have to appeal the human inside then. तो yeah, मेरा ख्याल है वो further जो emotional intelligence है that feeds into your street smartness. मगर खैर I think you're right कि you have to be street smart and
अच्छा
you have
लेकिन
to be
आपको एक
book
और बात
smart
बताऊं जो
both.
मैंने इनकंसिस्टेंसी की बात, या एंड आई थिंक लाइक वी टॉक्ड अबाउट के एक जो लम्स इज टीचिंग अस टू बी हाउ, मतलब के टू बी टू compete इन द आउटसाइड वर्ल्ड। उससे मुझे एक बात याद आई कि मेरा तो आइडियलिज्म हैज ओनली increased after coming to LUMS, क्योंकि जो चीजें, things that I can talk to, talk about very openly, things I can complain about, the kind of the environment that I have been provided, वो
Yeah.
तो आइडियलिज्म ही फॉस्टर करेगा ना। क्योंकि
Hmm.
आप, I'll give you an example कि यहाँ पे कुछ अगर inappropriate हो जाता है in the class, in the DRs, I know कि I will be heard, I know that this cannot happen, but in the real world, there is no guarantee. But
Absolutely.
LUMS does give you that guarantee. LUMS does give you that guarantee that this is against the school rules.
Yeah.
Nobody can do this to you. Nobody can say this to you. You are
Yeah.
protected in this way.
Yeah.
But you will not be protected like that जब हम यहाँ से जाएंगे। और मैं शायद इतनी
Yeah.
protected, जो एक आपको specifically psychological security होती है ना, not the psychological security that you get from your peers, but the psychological security that you get from the management, वो शायद आपको किसी पब्लिक यूनिवर्सिटी में जहां से मैं आई हूँ वहां पे तो नहीं थी ना, यहाँ पे
बिल्कुल.
तो है। so
Hmm.
it's not just so it's not just that I trust the instructors, it's also that I trust the system,
Yeah.
कि everybody is questionable for what they do। और
Hmm.
I'm not saying कि यहाँ पे कुछ भी अनफेयर नहीं होता होगा,
Hmm.
बट आई फील लाइक कि जो एफर्ट्स हैं टू रिमूव नेग्लिजेंस जिसकी वजह से some sort of unfairness is introduced into the system, those are higher and better than you would see in any other university, LSU
that
maybe,
is
UCC
correct.
maybe.
Yeah, I guess that's correct because मैं ये feel करता हूँ कि one of the things, one of the benefits of working at a good organization or being around people with being around organization with the systems are in place is that you are aware of your rights. And when you don't see that happening in other organizations, then you can tell कि यार ये वो चीज़ थी जो कि मुझे flaw institution ने सिखाई थी because that was present over there, and that is something that yes, many of the people who will now be graduating will be working in the education sector, sorry, will be working in the corporate sector wherever, they will get to witness it कि जो आपकी यूनिवर्सिटी वगैरह में डिफरेंट एक आपको जो राइट्स वगैरह बताए थे कि आपके पास होने चाहिए, you probably won't see that happening every time at the
Yeah,
organization that you'll be working at. So, okay, but thank you very much, Fatima. It was such a lovely, candid conversation about the MBA program, and not just LUMS MBA program on the whole. कि भाई दुनिया में कैसे we've touched Harvard as well. We talked about local MBAs as well and universities, and I think conversations like these actually help us, make our mind कि हमने किस जगह पे जाना है, हमें क्या सूट करता है. One thing that works for you might not work for me, and that is the kind of decision
absolutely.
maker we have to become. That is the thought process we have to develop here, what's working for me and what's not.
Yeah,
So thanks once again, Fatima. I hope you have a lovely MBA program, and I'm quite sure
I hope I don't get out so quickly.
no, you will get out once you're done with the program. I hope so.
Yeah.
Inshallah. Chale, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us for this conversation. I hope you enjoyed it. And inshallah, we're going to be seeing you next week in the episode 4 of the ongoing season 4 of Out Loud with Ammaar. Take care. Allah Hafiz.